How's it going, guys? My name is Zach with the Movie Castle, and today we're going to be continuing my Sharks of Summer series. For those of you guys who are new to the channel, Sharks of Summer, basically once a week, at least once, during the summer, I'm going to be reviewing a shark movie. Now, today we're continuing the Sharknado series with Sharknado 5, Global Swarming. And yeah, the DVD, it's stylized where the 5 is an S, so it's 5 Sharknado Global Swarming. That's really just the DVD. If you flip it to the back, the technical name for this movie is Sharknado 5: Global Swarming, and a lot of other places that's how you see it listed, but the DVD does have the stylization. This is from 2017, so once again, it is a year later, and this is once again directed by Anthony C. Ferrante, who directed all the previous films. Good to see him back. And this once again stars Ian Ziering and Reid, who are now actually both co-executive producers. I think Ian Ziering had a producer role in the last one, and it's good to see Reid get it this time around. That might be why she's in this movie more. Reid, sometimes the best you can get out of her is being the lead of the B-plot, and then you get like part 2 where she was barely in it because she was in the hospital. But here we finally see Reid being put front and center and having a good chunk of screen time, you know? And that was one of the things with the previous entries, is I didn't like how little screen time her character got, especially being second build, you know? But good to see more of her. We also got some cameos this time around. We got Uhura from Star Trek. We got Tony Hawk. We get one more scene with Gilbert Gottfried reprising his role from Sharknado 4. We also get Fabio playing the Pope and giving Finn a special chainsaw. That was really fun. And also, this is Sharknado Global Swarming, so you jump all around the globe, and you do get to see the American newscasters from the first movie, but you also get to see a bunch of local newscasters for other countries, you know. Instead of Good Morning America, we get a few scenes with Good Morning Britain, so that's cool to see as well, a cameo that fits within the theme. But anyway, I said this with Sharknado 4, and it feels true here as well, is at this point in the series, Sharknado really almost does feel like a TV show, you know? You get a bunch of reoccurring characters and plot themes, and you get the sense that everybody's back one more time, and plus 3, 4, and 5, they all end on cliffhangers, so it really does feel more like one big story than individual movies, you know? So, hey, it's fine. It's fine that it feels like a TV show. I mean, it's a made-for-TV movie, right? And overall, this episode is good. It's not as great as Part 3. Part 3 is definitely the best one so far. Here, they're trying to do new and different things, and a lot of it's pretty cool, and it is a good movie, but it doesn't quite have the escalation right. You get a cool opening and a really cool end, and then in the middle, they jump around all around the globe, and it leads to some cool situations, some cool comedy, and a lot of unique sequences, but at the same time, it becomes a little rambling. You don't get the sense of escalating scale as well as the last ones. You do get some fun sequences, but it's just not quite building up and becoming bigger and bigger and more epic like the third Sharknado did so well. But all that being said, let's go ahead and talk a bit about specifics. I'm not going to be doing any major spoilers, but I do want to say my piece on a few plot points and make sure you guys have a basic understanding as to what the movie's about. We open up in England. We have April and Finn and their youngest son, Gil, are in England. All the other characters are back in the States, all their other family members. And we do actually get a brief scene where we check in with Gemini, and a couple scenes with Gemini, and then we also get a couple scenes with his son. And even though they're not the biggest characters in this movie, it's cool to get a couple scenes to check in with them, you know, even if they're not the stars, to say, hey, that's a character I like, let's get a little check-in, even if really Finn's son, all he actually does is basically do an Xfinity ad, it's still cool to see him and good to check in. But anyway, when they get there, they're going to give some information. They're going to try to help inform the UN on how best to tackle Sharknadoes. And when they do that, Nova shows up really quick and pulls Finn away from this. So you get April and Gil going one way and Finn and Nova going the other. April and Gil go down to see the secret government stuff. You see, it's basically a parody of the Q sequences from the James Bond movies, because, hey, we're in England, right? And they've built several cool gadgets to help fight the Sharknadoes. You know, a little pin that shoots out a missile and can blow up a shark and stuff like that. But they also get, and here's the important thing, it's a bicycle helmet with a big fin on the top, and it has special technology in it. A shield that will protect the wearer from the atmosphere so they can survive being inside a tornado, as well as a sort of disguise thing where the helmet will trick sharks into thinking the wearer is another shark and they won't get attacked. So of course they give this helmet to Gil because he's a little kid and they want to keep him safe. Meanwhile, Finn and Nova are going to see Stonehenge because Nova has figured out that Sharknadoes have actually been a problem that humanity has faced in the past. You see, Sharknadoes have occurred from time to time in the past, but have been more or less lost to history. So she says that the agents found a way to stop the Sharknadoes with this magical object, and they go underground below Stonehenge to an Indiana Jones-styled, shark-themed, booby-trapped temple. So they go in there, and it's much like an Indiana Jones temple with the booby traps and stuff, but all the design and all the traps are shark-themed. So there's one part where you have to jump from tile to tile, and the floor is all water with little sharks jumping up and down in it. That's clever. And you even get, you know how in Indiana Jones the wall slides down and closes on you? Here it's big shark jaws that are going to close their jaw and you don't want to get bitten by the shark. So that's clever theming. It's one of the best segments in this movie. But anyway, they get the jewel, and before they can figure out how to use it, they realize that the agents had trapped a special tornado with the jewel, and by removing it, they've set this extra tornado free. Granted, there are already Sharknadoes all over the world, but this is the special one with electric powers, which we'll get into more in a minute. Anyway, after they get the thing, they go back to April and Gil, and they have a pretty cool London sequence. You know, several little gags. They knock over Big Ben, of course. The Prime Minister opens a briefcase, and it shoots out one of the cars from the Ferris wheel into the tornado, and it explodes, you know, like it was a secret anti-shark device the whole time. That was cool. And you also get a few other gags, like they're driving down the road and they hit Bret Michaels while they're driving a double-decker bus, and he's pinned to the front playing his guitar as they kill sharks. That's pretty cool. Now, the sequence all culminates with Gil getting sucked up into a tornado. Now, because he's wearing the anti-Sharknado helmet, he's gonna be fine, but the only problem is he's stuck in the tornado. So they go to try to get him out, and they find that this tornado has a special ability. The electricity inside acts as a teleporter, so you go in, you try to get Gil out, you miss, and it teleports you to another spot in the world. It's a cool way to jump from all these places in the world. It's global swarming. You want to get all over the world, and this is the quickest way to do it. So it is a pretty cool idea in that regard. And also it adds to the changing tornadoes. You know, Sharknado 3, you get the whole eastern seaboard, you get the wall of Sharknadoes. Then Sharknado 4, you had the morphing Sharknado. It was the Boulder-nado, then the Fire-nado, then it ends with being the nuclear Sharknado. So 4 was the morphing Sharknado, and now 5 is the electric teleporting Sharknado. So I do like each movie has its own unique Sharknado, and that's pretty cool. And this does lead to some cool sequences. You know, you get one part where they have to ski down a mountain. You know, they get randomly teleported to a mountain. They have to ski down away from an avalanche, and sharks are attacking them, and The Offspring is playing. That was a cool pull. And you do get several cool sequences. There's a really cool one in Australia. There's cool stuff in Egypt. But the thing is, it bounces our characters around so much, and you do get little bits and little humor and, you know, country-specific humor and lots of cool stuff, but it feels like a string of little bits and not the escalating plot that Sharknado 3 did so well, you know? So it gets a little messy and it gets a little disorganized in the middle, but it's still good because you're watching all this cool, crazy, and different stuff. But the thing is, it's not as much the scale, it's not as much the epicness, and it's not as much the over-the-top zaniness. Like I said, eventually they go to Rome and you meet Fabio as the Pope, who gives Finn a chainsaw, a special one, and I thought, wow, that's one of those crazy, unbelievable Sharknado moments. But then I thought, wow, you know, we've had zany moments, but nothing to that unbelievable level. Like, that's what I want in a Sharknado movie. The unbelievable level where if I told someone that it happened in a Sharknado movie, they wouldn't believe me. And that's where, you know, Pope Fabio giving Finn a special chainsaw, that's where that falls in. And I felt like, you know, there wasn't enough of those truly unbelievable moments, but there were fun country-specific gags, so it's cool, just not as cool as it could be. And also I realized, boy, he's getting a chainsaw now. This movie, Finn didn't have a chainsaw for a good chunk of it, so there is that as well. But it does get pretty cool, you know. It gets a little disorganized, but the end, I won't spoil exactly what happens, obviously, but the end in Tokyo, you do get a cool country-specific gag, and it does fall into that unbelievable level. That is where I want the Sharknado series to be. So the Tokyo finale part was pretty cool, and then again, I'm not going to spoil it, but where this movie ends, you know, it doesn't escalate to the big crazy stuff. It gets big, goes all over the place, and then gets big again, but it ends on that 10. It ends in a wild and crazy place at a wild and crazy moment, something you wouldn't have predicted or expected in a cool, unbelievable ending. At the end, you're like, oh wow, we did all this, we're going there. And that I really did love. Now, yeah, like I said, this isn't the best Sharknado movie. Obviously, 3 is the best Sharknado movie, but it had lots of cool gags. It had more Tara Reid. It had a bunch of really cool little sequences. Even if the plot didn't have proper escalation, it still did get to a 10 by the end, and it left us in a really cool, unexpected place, again on another cliffhanger, so I will definitely dive into part 6 pretty soon. But overall, I really did like this movie, you know. Like I said, it's not the best, but it's still pretty good, and a few unexpected things. It's just not quite to that unbelievable that, you know, I really do like it when the Sharknado movies do go there. But overall, a really fun entry, and I'm glad I watched this. When I first did Sharks of Summer, I thought I'd do the first 3 Sharknado movies, but then after 3, I just got so worked up and wanting to do more that I wound up going, yes, I have to do all 6, and I don't really regret that at all. So I'll get to part 6, which is the last one, and I'll have completed the whole Sharknado series, and I've had a lot of fun so far. Even if 4 and 5 weren't as good as 3, they're still fun movies and really interesting to see how they take this series. So, really looking forward to 6, and I'd recommend this, just not as much as 3, but it's still fun. Anyway, to everyone who's watched so far, thank you for watching. To everyone who's liked and subscribed, thank you. You're really helping the channel out. I'll put a relevant playlist on the bottom that should be my Sharknado movies playlist. If you guys want to see more, you can click there and see more, and you can see my reviews for the first 4 movies. Anyway, have a good day. I'll see you guys again very, very soon. Relevant playlist on the bottom. Have a good day now.